All right, quick question. When you finally get your first job in Australia as a backpacker, what do you think it's actually going to be like?
Honestly, I think most people imagine it going pretty smoothly. You finally get that message or that call, and it feels like everything's sorted.
Yeah, like all the stress is over. You've got a job, money's coming in, and now you can actually start enjoying the experience.
Exactly. It feels like you've made it past the hard part. The job hunt is done, your bank account can stop bleeding money. It's a massive sigh of relief.
But in reality, that's not where the hard part ends.
Not even close.
Because getting the job is one thing, but your first few shifts, that's where things get very real very quickly.
So, what actually happens? Because I think we've both been there. You walk in on day one, maybe a bit nervous, but mostly just excited. And then the reality hits you like a freight train.
I remember my first shift so clearly. It was in this incredibly busy cafe in Melbourne, one of those laneway spots. I walked in thinking I was ready. I'd been applying for jobs for weeks, stressing about money, trying to get everything sorted, and finally I had something. I thought, okay, I've worked in a cafe before back home. How hard can it be?
Right. Famous last words.
Totally. The moment I stepped behind that counter, it hit me straight away. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. The sound was the first thing. The coffee grinder was screaming. The barista was shouting orders I didn't understand. One skinny flat white, a long mock topped up, and I'm just standing there frozen.
Yeah, that feeling of being completely out of your depth. It's like sensory overload. My first job was bar work in Sydney, and it was the same thing. The music is pumping, people are three deep at the bar waving cash at you, and you don't even know where the glasses are kept.
Exactly. And no one really prepares you for that part. You're in a new country, new environment, a completely different way of doing things, and suddenly you're expected to just keep up. The slang alone is a barrier. Someone asked me for the EFTPOS machine, and I just stared blankly. I had no idea what that was.
The card machine.
Right, I know that now, but at the time, I felt like a complete idiot. And you feel like you can't ask because you don't want to look incompetent on your first day.
And it's fast as well.
So fast, especially in places like cafes, bars, restaurants. Everything moves at 100 miles an hour. There's no gentle introduction. There's no let's ease you into it. It's peak hour, a customer's waiting, and you're in the way.
Orders coming in, people asking questions, your manager is pointing at three things at once, and you're just trying to keep your head above water without making mistakes.
And you will make mistakes.
Oh, 100%. You're guaranteed to. I remember my first week, I was told to take a tray of drinks to a table. Seemed simple. Except it was one of those massive, heavy wooden trays with about 10 different cocktails on it. I got about halfway across the floor and I felt it start to tip.
Oh no, don't say it.
The whole thing. All over the floor. Sticky, sugary mess everywhere. The entire bar went quiet for a second just to look at me standing in a puddle of failure. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole.
That's brutal. For me, I kept messing up the simplest things, things that should be easy. I couldn't figure out the till, the cash register. Back home, everything was touchscreen, super intuitive. This thing looked like it was from the 90s. I gave a customer the wrong change 3 times in a row, and the queue behind them just kept growing. The pressure is immense.
And I think that's the difference between expectation and reality.
Yeah, because before you start, you think it's just a basic job. You tell yourself, I'm smart, I can pour a beer, I can carry a plate. You almost look down on it a little.
But when you're actually in it,
It's completely different. There's pressure, there's pace, there's a system for everything that you don't know. And there's this feeling that you need to prove yourself straight away.
that's a huge one, the proving yourself part.
And that's another thing no one talks about. You don't just walk in and feel comfortable. You're not just learning the job, you're also trying to navigate the social politics of the workplace.
Right. You've got this tight knit team of people who have been working together for ages. They have all their inside jokes, they know the regulars, they move around each other without even thinking. And then there's you, the new backpacker, just constantly in the way.
And you're constantly thinking, am I doing this right? Am I slowing people down? Are they going to keep me on? That last one is the big one.
Yeah, because a lot of these jobs, they're not guaranteed long term. They often hire you on a casual basis. And there might be two or three other backpackers starting the same week. You feel like you're in competition.
Exactly. You feel like you're being tested from the first minute. Every mistake you make, you're thinking, that's a point against me. The other new guy probably didn't mess that up. What we didn't realize at the time was that they expect you to be useless for the first week. They've seen hundreds of backpackers come and go.
Totally. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels personal. It feels like your own personal failing.
And you go home after that first shift, and your feet hurt, your head is spinning, and you're just demoralized. You don't feel that relief you expected. You just feel dread about having to go back the next day and do it all again.
So, how long does it take before you actually feel settled? Because I think a lot of people expect it to be, a couple of days.
Honestly, longer than you think. It's not just one shift, it's not even two or three. For me, the first week was pure survival mode. I was just focused on not getting fired.
Yeah, the first week is just about learning where things are and who the manager is. That's about all you can manage.
I'd say it takes a good 2 to 3 weeks to stop feeling like a complete burden. That's when you start to understand how things work, to anticipate what's needed, to get comfortable, to stop second guessing every single thing you're doing.
And until then,
You're just trying to survive each shift. You clock in, put your head down, try not to mess up too badly, and then clock out.
but here's the important part. This is completely normal.
Yeah, everyone goes through it. And we need to stress this. Every single backpacker who has ever worked a job here has felt that same panic on their first day.
And that's what I wish I knew before starting, because you feel so isolated in that moment. You look around and everyone else seems so confident and capable, and you think it's just you. You think, I'm not cut out for this.
That feeling of being lost at the beginning doesn't mean you're bad at the job. It just means you're processing an insane amount of new information. It's not just the job tasks. It's the accents, the culture, the social dynamics, the new city you're living in. It's a cognitive overload.
It just means you're new.
Exactly.
So, what actually helps? If someone is listening to this and they're about to start their first shift tomorrow, what do they do to get through it?
Just sticking with it, first and foremost. Don't quit after one bad shift. Everyone has bad first days. But on a more practical level, the mistake I made was being too scared to ask questions. I tried to just figure it out on my own to avoid looking stupid.
Which ironically leads to you making way more stupid mistakes.
Exactly. Find one person on the team who seems approachable and just be honest. Say, hey, I'm really sorry. This is all new to me. Can you show me one more time how to do this? People are almost always willing to help if you're humble and you show you want to learn.
That's massive. Finding that one work ally who can be your go to, and also remembering to separate the job from your life. It's so easy to let a bad shift ruin your entire day, to go home and just fix it on it.
Yeah, you have to consciously leave it at the door. You're in Australia to have an amazing experience, not to become the world's best casual hospitality worker. The job is a means to an end. It funds the adventure.
Because you improve quickly.
Way quicker than you expect. What felt impossible on day one becomes second nature by day 10. The muscle memory kicks in. You start to understand the flow of the place.
And once you get past that first week or two, everything starts to feel different.
Totally. There's a turning point. For me, it was about a month in. A new backpacker started, and the manager asked me to show her how the till worked.
That's the moment you go from being the student to the teacher, even for a tiny thing.
Yes, suddenly you're part of the team. You understand the pace, you know what you're doing, and that constant crushing pressure starts to fade. You can actually start to have a bit of fun with it. You chat with the customers, you joke around with your coworkers.
That's when it becomes enjoyable, when it stops being just a job and starts being a part of your social life. Your workmates become your first friends in a new city. They're the ones you go for a beer with after your shift.
Exactly. That's when you actually start to feel settled, not just in the job, but in the country. It's a huge milestone.
It really is. The job provides structure and the people provide community. That's the stuff that turns a trip into an experience.
So, if you're about to start your first job in Australia, just know this: it's going to feel uncomfortable at the start.
It's supposed to. This comfort is where the growth happens.
You're going to make mistakes. You might even drop a full tray of expensive cocktails.
And everyone will stare, but they'll forget about it in 5 minutes.
And you're probably going to question yourself a few times. You'll think about quitting, about whether you made a huge mistake coming here.
But that's part of the process.
Exactly. And if you stick with it, it gets easier fast. And honestly, looking back, those chaotic first few weeks are some of the most memorable parts of the whole adventure.
Yeah, they make for the best stories later on.
Let us know in the comments what your first job in Australia was like. We'd love to hear some of your horror stories and successes.
And if you're still trying to get one, check out our video on how we approach finding work.
Make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.